Greetings to all. I hope you all are doing good today. So let's spend a couple of minutes in silence. And if something comes up, I may share that during this 20 minutes sitting. And you're free to keep your eyes open or closed as you wish. There is no restriction of any kind here. You're free to be seated any way you like. Just make sure that you are comfortable and relaxed. All there is consciousness. That is the source and substance of everything. It is through it that everything becomes knowable, yet it itself is unknowable as an object of our experience. Here and now is your being, the groundless ground of all experiential awareness. Nothing needs to be done except to bring the awareness here and now and be completely receptive to whatever is arising without judgment, without resistance, without modification. Let there be no labeling, altering, or blocking of any thought whatsoever. Bring your attention to the source of all thinking. Bring your attention to the root of the conceptual thought me. See where it arises from. That is what we really are. We are not the personality that we believe ourselves to be. We are not the conditioned entity that we believe ourselves to be. We are pure, unconditional love. We do not exist in fragmentations. Our existence is one seamless whole. That is the pure light of witnessing consciousness. This consciousness is not concerned with any of your worldly attributes like the color of your skin or your nationality or anything that creates division. This consciousness is the substratum that is never lost. It is the eternal constant that is the witness of dreaming, waking, and deep sleep. Do not try to see this consciousness. Do not make it an object of your imaginative experience. Simply be. In this being, all limitations will be mitigated. All boundaries will dissolve. All separation will end. This unitive consciousness is what we call God or the Supreme Reality. This is what we have been seeking. This is our ultimate longing. It is our ultimate quest. Yet it is not far away from us. It is simply here and now as this. Whatever arises, arises in this. There is no experience or experiencing outside of this consciousness. It is what the Sufis call the beloved. It is not to be sought, but to be discovered as one's own essence. Recognition of this consciousness dissolves the fragmentations of the mind that we get strongly attached to. The resolution of fragmentations, which can be fragmentations based on identifications like gender, nationality, religion, organization, or any concept that causes division between me and the other. It comes to an end. A harmonious mind is no mind. Just relax now in this place of bliss for a couple of minutes. Anybody would like to share something or ask something, you can raise your hand and I will unmute you. Jacqueline, would you like to share something about your experience today?
Well, I was actually during your meditation, which was quite beautiful. Thank you. I was thinking about I was actually thinking about a story from about a year ago, if I may share.
Oh, yes, please.
Came to mind. Okay. Um, it's like once we start seeing that the the distinctions, okay, distinctions, the world is amazingly full of variety. Yes. And we're not denying that, but when we see that we draw separations where they're not necessarily useful, then then they start dissolving in the most remarkable places. Like, for example, about a year ago, I was traveling in Northern California and I was doing some hiking in a national park called Lassen. There's a volcano. I think it's inactive. I may be wrong there, but it's a mountain region with a lot of dense forest. It's very beautiful. And there's a requirement that your vehicle must have what are called snow chains on the tires to even enter the area. And it's a safety precaution. So snow tires were not something I generally carried in my vehicle. So I stopped at an auto parts store before entering the park. And this was on a recommendation from a local person who said, "Oh, you can pick up no big deal. You can just pick up snow chains at any auto parts store around here because we're used to it." So I said, "Okay." And I stopped in at the store, and you know, the the uh, salesperson, just a cashier, a cashier. He was an older gentleman. I If I had to guess, I would say maybe he'd retired and had taken this job part time. And he said, he asked what size my tires were, and I told him, and he got the chains. And then he said, if you don't use these, you can bring them back and get a refund, and but do carry them in the car in case they are required. And I said, okay. And then he said, by the way, if you do like this forested area, you can continue to follow the forest up. And then he gave the name of uh, an area just north of Lassen. He said, if you like Lassen, you might like to explore the forest. I think it was called Siskiyou. It had a different name. And I said, oh, is that forest in California or is that forest in Oregon? And this cashier just looked at me and he said, "Well, the forest doesn't have any borders. Doesn't care if it's in this state or that."
Wow.
And I never forgot that. I never forgot that. And I laughed and I said, "Yes, that's certainly true. We make those borders. We make those we make those lines. And nature doesn't know. Nature just runs, it's just one organism, really."
Yeah. I think today, when we were taking a hike walk in the mountains of Kasoli, um, I noticed similar thing. Like it's like humans have created pathways and dwellings. Now, for the local people, there's not much difference between that and the nature. Like it is all included in one nature. But yes, for us, it is like, okay, this area belongs to cantonment, this area belongs to civilians, this area, this is the road and that is the jungle. And for animals, I'm sure there's no distinction at all between these. So yes, with fewer concepts, there is less confusion, there's less chaos and less conflict. But more concepts we have, the more conflict. So probably this person, since you spoke about the forest and the mountains, did not have the concept of states or which state it fell into. For him, it was just nature. So
Yeah.
he probably, yeah, go on.
Yes, which also reminded me of today when you said, when in that beautiful forested area where we were today in Kasoli in the Himalayas, there was that jug of water. Do you remember at the very top of the cantonment area? If you walk far enough on foot, they
Yes,
someone has just set out a big jug of, it's like a big clay pot of water
yes,
with a color, the
yes, cooler. Yes,
color.
it is called ghada in Hindi. So yes, it's a clay pot, and it actually they say that it takes away, it absorbs a lot of impurities from the water. And of course it's a it's filled with probably the mountain water, so it's already, there are a lot of minerals in that. And it keeps the water cool also. So I
Yeah.
think we had that water and it was cool.
Yes, and they just, like, it didn't even say who it belonged to. It was just set
Yes,
near the road and people would just come up, drink from, and
yes,
then rinse it out and then set it for the next person. It was like,
yes,
it also didn't, it was like it was for anybody who wanted a drink of water. No one had sort of
yes. And there was no concept like in people who were walking there as to who is drinking that water. And there was no fear about it, that oh, there may be germs, it may be unhygienic, or or people may have dirtied this. Who else is using the container, the cup or the cooler? There was no concept of that sort. It was like people were tired because it was quite a walk, and then they were thirsty, and then they had water.
Yeah.
So actually this happens that when we are tired, we just give up the entire, all the concepts at that moment. We just take whatever we have in the immediate moment. For example, if like one is hungry for a very long time, one doesn't care about what quality of food is there. One would eat the most basic food, whatever is available in that given moment. There will be no
Yeah.
preferences, there will be no choices. It's only that when the choices come into play, that conflicts arise, where it says that the environment is not up to my preference. I want the weather to be better. I want the food to be better. I want it to be less crowded. I don't want cars on the road. You know, when the preferences come up, that's when actually the chaos starts. And the consciousness that was being spoken of today is the choiceless awareness. There's no element of choice in that. It is not this versus that. It is not consciousness versus unconsciousness. It is all one seamless whole. So when one is totally present, there are no fragmentations in the mind. There are no divisions in the mind. And that mind is truly an intelligent mind because that mind lives the wholeness. It does not divide. Otherwise, it is the nature of mind to just divide. And the more the divisions, the more complicated life becomes. And today's walk was beautiful because the weather was good. And I think we shot a video also, which will be released on the other channel, which is Being Peaceful. And it really felt very calming, and there was complete oneness with the environment. Now, what from what I see is people walking over there, majority of the times, people are just trying to get their pictures clicked, what you call that selfie or something like that. Pictures click. But nobody just stood even for a minute to actually soak in all the nature had to offer. And I think just mindfully walking in that path was itself very healing, very calming.
Yes, but there were pointers, if you remember. Like there was some poetry written on um, a few
Oh,
signs
yes,
there
yes.
about like just looking around at the nature, and
Yes.
even someone had written, like a one-word prayer on a rock. Do you remember that? The
Mhm.
In Hindi. It was in Hindi, and it was there was something written on a rock. Just some it was
Oh, it was Ram.
rock.
It was
Yeah, and
Ram.
I said, "What does that say?" And you said it says Ram.
Yes, it is
It's just
Ram. Although we will go into that in depth, but not today, maybe in another video, what the significance of that. But um, yes, there was beautiful poetry written everywhere. And I remember uh, in one of the stones, it was written, Black is beautiful, old is gold, and clean is green.
yeah,
That was a
yeah.
pointer to keep the city clean, keep the city green. And Indians are
And
reminded all the time that you need to keep it clean.
it was clean.
Yes, it was.
They clearly love that and cherish that walking pathway because it's pristine. It's interesting. You can see the value when the people around there value something, and it's like they keep it in beautiful condition. And of course they value that. I mean, it's a beautiful, peaceful area. But you know, there was another one I remember. It said, when the last fish is caught and the last uh I think like nuts and berries are gathered,
Mhm.
only then will we remember that we cannot eat money.
Yes, exactly. So the whole idea was to keep the environment clean.
Yeah.
And masters have said to keep the mind clean. And I think that's a great pointer. Just like we keep the environment clean, we keep the mind clean too. So masters give us pointers like be here and now. It is like don't wander off into thoughts and thinking. Living with awareness is living in bliss. Go on, go on.
Which reminds me, you and I were discussing a reading recently where the pointer was, I think it was Nisargadatta. I think you were preparing for a Nisargadatta talk, and you
Mhm.
said uh, his pointer was take out the garbage regularly or something like this.
Yes, yes.
And you said he's talking about the mind.
Yes, of course, yeah. He would say that anything that comes to the conscious surface burns. So mind is not just the conscious mind, it is much deep. It is much deep and it goes back to samskaras, deep samskaras that actually create the mind. And those samskaras do not dissolve by fighting them, but simply by the light of awareness. Nothing is to be done to dissolve anything. Light of awareness itself will guide and dissolve. So all the master says, just pay attention to this whole process, and itself, the observation itself will dissolve what needs to be dissolved. And I think that's a beautiful, potent pointer. Okay. Anybody else would like to share something or ask a question? Please feel free to. You can raise your hand and I will unmute you. Yes, Soundarya.
Hey, Jagjot. So this is my first time here in the satsang. Um, since we are on the topic of awareness, right? I
Mhm.
hope you're able to hear me.
Can you just be a little more loud?
Okay, yeah, sure. So yeah, so I have one question on awareness.
Yes.
So I really do not know how to put it in words, but I'll share my experience of it.
Okay.
So every night I go to bed for sleep, right? So
Mhm.
what happens then is as soon as I close my eyes, I'm just I'm just aware, like I don't know what to do. It's like as if something is on inside me, and and it's very uncomfortable for me. And I see that during the daytime as well, but I'm involved in some kind of activity during the day, right? So I'm able to regulate that, like, or involve in something basically. So that's not a problem for me in the day, but during
Mhm.
the night, it's like I don't think about the past or future, or I mean, thoughts keep coming, but that's not the concern for me.
Mhm.
But uh, it's just that I want the light to be off, inside me. I am really not comfortable, and I really do not know how to navigate that, because in that space I experience a lot of pain within me.
Mhm.
uh, when I try to uh, contemplate on what is the cause of this pain, then I really I really do not know. Maybe it could be because of some whatever unfulfilled desires or some expectations or whatever it is, right? I'm not
Mhm.
sure, but it's I don't like to be in that space. It's like I'm really suffering because of that, and it's been many days I had a good peaceful sleep. So
So basically, this happens when you are sleeping, right? When you go to sleep.
correct.
Okay. And how long does this happen for you?
I think it depends. Some days it's like it could last for 5 to 10 minutes, and some days it's like almost an hour or so. And then
Mhm.
I just flow through the thoughts, like whatever I get during that time. And yeah.
Okay. So the thoughts that you get in that duration, can you make any connection as to what those thoughts are? Like, are they related to something that is happening in your life right now, or are they related to something in the past?
Um. See, sometimes I get these thoughts, but not always. Or I can say I consciously try to go in the direction of thoughts, because just being there without thoughts and just with the switch on is really uncomfortable. And these thoughts are related to, like, both present and past as well.
Okay. Okay. So, the only thing here is that, first of all, there is an awareness. The awareness is already there that thoughts are arising. Now, thoughts may be neutral or they may be troubling, right? And even if they are, let's say, good thoughts, sometimes that can also be a hindrance in sleep. So, yes, the mind can be extremely active before one sleeps, and it can be extremely challenging. So, we just need to examine as to what is our relationship with these thoughts, like what is the root of these thoughts? Where is it? Where are the thoughts coming from? And if we see that, that itself will start breaking this relationship. If you try to block the thought or modify or alter the thought, it is that actually itself is a thought. Thought trying to block the thought. Now, the discomfort that arises, it is something which is probably deep within you, and it is not an isolated process. There may be many things happening in your life which may not be settling well according to your present conditioning. In case if that is happening, you can just sit and examine as to what exactly is going on and where exactly are these thoughts stemming from. It is usually that we live believing so many concepts, sometimes this is right, this is wrong, that these thoughts only become troublesome when we are strongly identified with right and wrong. It is like, this thing in my life is happening in this way and it should not happen in this way. And sometimes we get too caught up in that. Now, I'm just speaking generally because I do not know your life situation. But the only relief that is available for us, which is my experience too, is go to the source of thoughts. Like, where are the thoughts coming from? That is what Ramana Maharishi said. And once we trace the source of the thought, it leads us to our essential nature, which is awareness. So, other than that, any practice that you do before night may help a little bit, but it will not take away the discomfort. But yes, slowly with awareness, the thoughts will start loosening their hold on you, because the identification will start dissolving, the fragmentations will start dissolving. And fragmentations will dissolve when we stop creating the ideas of right and wrong, but simply see things for what they are. Does that make any sense?
Yes, definitely. But I think I don't have the problem with these thoughts. Like, even though, like, it's not so comfortable, but
Mm,
I think my main problem is that ju- just able to see things the way they are. Correct?
mm,
It could be of myself, like the way I am, just to see the way I am.
mm,
And maybe, I'm not sure, maybe uh, there is no complete acceptance of that in some way, maybe, which is causing this. And yeah, I don't know. I really do not know how to completely maybe accept myself the way I am, right? Or yeah, I think that's what it is.
okay, okay. So it is just the examination of the self, like who is exactly trying to understand or trying to accept, and what is being, what is the object that we are trying to accept. And sometimes a little bit of reflection can help in that way. Let's say that if we have a conflict in a relationship with another person, we can examine this. So, in that relationship, what is it that separates me from them? Certain ideas, certain beliefs that they have, or any other attributes. When we examine that, we see that it is all conceptual knowledge that is creating the separation with another. person, they may believe in something else and I do not believe in that. Therefore, we create a separation. And sometimes that leads to conflict. So, in the seeing that I'm talking about, in the acceptance that I'm talking about right now, it is to be seen that God has created all of us in distinct ways. And the concept is that we are all living out our blueprint according to the life that has been created for us by the source. So nobody is truly in control of their actions, but actions are still happening. So it is perfectly okay to distance yourself from someone who is unkind, let's say, for example, but to hold them through resentment, through grudge, or any kind of malice is not fruitful because that creates and sustains the separation. So fundamentally, what I can do from my end is just investigate as to why and how, like where is the source of all these thoughts and why do they trouble me? So when I start tracing my own nature, then I find that my separation with others begin to disappear. And then I experience oneness with all. Now, that does not mean that I'm going to change as a person. I may still remain the same person that I am. I may still have my preferences. I may still have my conditioning, whatever it is. But at the same time, I recognize that conditioning is not what truly I am. And so is the other, not truly the other, but we share the common essence, which is consciousness. And that changes the whole dynamic because then the conflict in relationships comes to an end. Things may still be unsettled externally, but internally there is no conflict. And when that conflict ends, the thought related to that also ends, whether it is conscious or it is experienced as sensations in the body, it begins to end. So, all that can be done is to let the observation that is happening by itself, the impersonal observation, do its work and not load or burden the mind to vigilantly try to watch thoughts or control thoughts or block thoughts. So, that kind of surrender brings a lot of relief.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, anybody else would like to ask anything or share anything? Yes, Mandeep.
Uh, Namaste, Jagjot.
Namaste, Mandeep.
Thank you for very lovely and soothing meditation. I was amused to see your and Jackie's video in German on YouTube.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I speak German. Okay.
Oh, very nice.
Okay. So, and Jacqueline, I thought you from US. Maybe I wonder where you learned German from.
Mandeep, I actually took classes in my college. My local college offered German classes, so I took them there. That's how I learned.
Okay. Sie können mit mir auch Deutsch sprechen, wenn Sie wollen.
Oh, wow. Oh, Sie sprechen gut Deutsch, Mandeep. Wie haben Sie gelernt? How did you learn German?
I learned at University of Vienna, Austria.
Oh, wow. Yes. Okay, wonderful. Wonderful.
Okay, so ich konnte alles verstehen. So,
Ja, ich kann Sie verstehen auch.
wunderbar.
Wunderbar.
Uh, Jagjot, my questions is, what does it actually mean that meditation happens?
Hmm. It cannot be actually described in words, to be honest, but it can only be experienced directly. That is the best I can come up with. What it means is that there is complete ending of any kind of separation with anything. So it is both zero and infinity at the same time. It is vast and nothing, everything and nothing at the same time. Now I'm just using words and they are futile to describe.
Mhm.
But the thing is, there is no concept of any meditator focusing on the object because when we are focusing on an object, the meditator is still tied up to the object. However, let me also say that that is also a beautiful state which brings the mind a lot of rest and calmness.
Mhm.
And it is not to be discounted. Like it is not that's not enough. It is a beautiful state. And meditation, the practice by itself is a beautiful, beautiful practice. It's a beautiful tool to quiet the mind. However, the dissolution of the meditator is what is known as the happening of meditation. When there is completely no sense of any separate entity focusing or doing anything in meditation, that is when true meditation happens. And it does not happen necessarily only in a seated posture with eyes closed. It can happen anywhere. It can happen while walking, it can happen while talking also. It can happen anytime. But yes, words do fall short to explain what it is. But it is what Ramana Maharishi would call breakdown of the subject-object relationship.
I experience it sometimes
Yes.
when I watch sunset.
Yes. Yes. In fact, many people experience it even in the morning when they wake up and the mind is absolutely quiet and their gazes sometimes just loose and they experience a very restful state of their mind. Now, in that, Ramesh Balsekar would say that witnessing is happening, and that witnessing actually reveals a lot of information about one's own thoughts and patterns. That also is meditation and the natural flow of life, which brings all kinds of experience, all kinds of sensations. The witnessing of those also is meditation. But when the meditator is not there, it's like nothing sticks. The the only way I can explain this is nothing sticks. The intensity is felt in the moment. Let's say when we're having an interaction with someone, and the interaction is, let's say, pleasant or unpleasant, it can be both. when it is pleasant, it is completely accepted and it does not stick, as in there is no craving for the repeat of the experience. And if the interaction is unpleasant, that is also welcomed. But again, there is no story created around it. So that is meditation. Because there is no meditator. The pain is arising or the pleasure is arising in the moment, but there is no meditator. It is simply the witnessing of whatever is happening, which includes whatever is happening with the perceived self also, which also is seen as an object.
Can you please explain perceived self?
Sorry?
Perceived self.
Yes. Perceived self is the one that is trying to alter the thoughts, that is trying to carry an emotional charge horizontally, trying to fight what is. For example, if there is an unpleasant sensation, it is saying, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to experience that. And then it creates a reaction to stop it, to block it. That is the object, that is the perceived self. Now it arises as a thought, it is witnessed, and then it is released. This is what Nisargadatta Maharaj said. But it doesn't stick. So when it doesn't stick, that is meditation. Does that make any sense?
Sure, sure.
Okay.
I'm just trying to contemplate on it deeply.
You know, actually,
Thank you very much.
yes, sure, not a problem. It actually does not require any deep contemplation, to be honest, because your awareness itself reveals it. And the very fact that you're asking the question and you can see all these processes itself shows that there is an understanding that is taking place there where all the processes are being seen, you know. But again, when we become vigilant, it is a separate self, which is like trying to find out the meaning. And when it does that, there is always an objective. It is like, okay, maybe if I get to know the process of thinking, I can somehow control my thinking. So then, sometimes we fall into the trap of maybe doing this practice, that practice to quiet the mind. Now, practices are all beautiful, but yes, true meditation happens when the meditator dissolves. And that is pure experiencing.
So when you say meditator dissolves, you mean ego mind.
Yes. The one that is thinking he's
Yes.
doing the meditation, that that one, that sense of separateness dissolves.
And when we use the term, the observer is observed,
Mm-hmm.
okay, then we also refer to, so sometimes I get very confused with the statement,
Mm-hmm.
observer is the observed. I have been explained it from various sources at many times, but I have not come in terms, to be honest, terms with it, to really um, comprehend it.
That cannot be comprehended. It's like because the one trying to comprehend is the observer, and it is it is believing that it is separate from what is being observed. So, that separation constantly remains. It is something like, it's something like, how should I give this example? It's like something is suspended from your body, okay? And you're
Mm,
trying to attain it. You're
mhm,
trying to attain it because you think you are in separation.
mm.
Let's say something like you have a stick and an object is suspended from the stick is connected to your body, and you're
Mhm.
trying to grasp that,
Mhm.
you know, and you think that it is something to be grasped, but that separation is constantly ma- maintained.
I,
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Now I
Yes,
can
yes,
see you as
yes.
well.
Yes, there was a
This
bit
you
of a glitch.
disappeared. Oh.
So that separation is constantly maintained because of the stick. So all that needs to be done is to just remove the stick, put the stick down, and what you will realize is that what you're trying to grasp is you. It is not separate from you. When I say you, I'm talking about the separate self, the notion of the separate self. So we need some more time to actually discuss this in depth. The observer is the observed, and probably we can do that tomorrow.
Mhm.
We can get more into this tomorrow. But I would just like to say that it cannot be understood conceptually because the one that is trying to understand is the separate self. So
Mhm.
that trying to make sense of how this is like, how the observer and the observed is different is one, is not going to, it requires a more subtle awareness to see that actually there is no separation between the separate self and what is being observed. I am, like Jittu Krishnamurti would say, that I am my conditioning, I am the anger, I am the hatred, I am the resentment. That is not different. And that realization itself, that acceptance, which is quite hard itself, breaks down this conditioning. It is not that I become reckless and, you know, just blow up on anybody when I'm upset. All it means is that I recognize that my anger and I am not separate. The notion of I is not separate from what is. The I expands horizontally as me, and me is the anger. Me is that conditioning. So when I fully understand that, I do not try to suppress my thoughts, my feelings. I actually observe them in totality. And in that, the observation becomes, at some point, it just becomes impersonal. That means the meditator dissolves and the
It's
wholeness is
really
experienced.
it's clearer now. I think for me, the
Yeah.
confusion stems uh, from the from use of words, because when I use myself as real me, I am.
Mm-hmm.
I also use I am an observer, a
Mm-hmm.
choiceless awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then because the ego is also witnessing, so that observer. So I
Yeah.
think I get confused with these two
Yes,
observers.
yes, yes. Yes. And I am the observer is the statement by the ego, which is limited statement, which is distorted statement. I am, on the other hand, is pure light of witnessing. It is not limited. So it is not putting even a single, not single, it is not putting any effort into witnessing. It is like complete surrender to whatever is happening. But when I put effort, so we need to go into the question of effort also to understand why this is happening. An effort is always tied to an outcome. Like somewhere there is a mind which is tied to an outcome, like it wants to see, it wants to experience something. And when the mind says that, the ego mind, I'm talking about the ego mind, when it says that I want my thoughts to subside, there is always this motive or this objective that somehow that will simplify my life and I will be happier in life. However, the quiet mind is a temporary state.
Mhm.
Unless this full relationship between the observer and the observed is understood, the mind will keep roaming restlessly. So probably we can go into a little bit depth into this topic tomorrow. And I think it'll be more clearer then.
I think it should be okay with others as well. I don't want to be,
No, I think it is. I think it is fine. But if anybody wants to suggest anything, that we can go into that as well. But I think it is an important topic because Saundarya also spoke about this, and I think it is tied up to that question as well. It is actually tied up to all these questions because sometimes we don't even know what exactly is happening, what is troubling us. In that, if the relationship, this subject object relationship between the observer and the observed is examined, it can bring a lot of relief.
Mhm.
Otherwise, if something else comes up tomorrow, sometimes I'm not in charge and something else comes up tomorrow, then we may defer it and maybe discuss it at another time, but we'll see.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Mandeep. All right, I think we can conclude today's session and we'll meet tomorrow at 8:30. Thank you. There is, okay, there is another question, another raised hand. I will just,
Yes, sorry, just a quick question because in the email, I'm in the UK, said it started at 4 p.m.,
okay,
but you're just finishing. So,
okay, we
because
can,
it
okay,
said
let's,
London 4 p.m. So I
right.
just want to check what time tomorrow.
Tomorrow, same time as today, it is 8:30 p.m. Okay, let me see that. You're in
Is
London,
that
right?
India time? Yeah, well, I'm in the UK. I'm in North Yorkshire. Yeah.
Okay. Jacqueline, can you just check what is the London time for the, it must be there in the email.
It says 4 p.m. in the emails, but it's 4 p.m. now. I came on at 4 p.m. You're just finishing.
Oh, they may have
Oh,
been.
it does. Yes, it does say 4 p.m. London
4
in
p.m.
the,
London. Is that not correct time?
No,
well, no,
Oh, okay.
no.
because it's 4 p.m. now and you're just about to finish.
Oh, okay. All right. Maybe we need to, okay, we need to check that.
So
Then
Yeah.
is that 8:30 India time?
8:30 India time, yes.
Okay, I can look that up. That's fine.
All right, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Leslie. Thanks for letting us know.
Thank you. I didn't want to miss it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so we'll conclude for today and we'll meet tomorrow again. Take care.